It's Saturday, August 10th, 4:30 a.m. I'm in Avery, Idaho. This is the start of Day 6 of the GRIT 1 route. Day 6 is only 158 miles long, but there are a number of big mountain technical trails to complete. I'll start on single track right out of Avery, and then head for breakfast in Wallace, where I'll cross the dividing line of I-90 and enter into northern Idaho. I'll ride 2 more sections of the State Line Trail that includes some incredible scenery before cruising north to my next stop in the town of Clark Fork. I woke up this morning and got all my gear on before even looking outside. When I finally opened the door, it was completely dark out, and I realized the mistake I had made. You see, Idaho has a confusing time zone. The lower half is on Mountain Time, and the northern is on Pacific. I crossed this line early on day 4, and I was aware of the change. My problem is, when I was up on the State Line Trail yesterday, my cell phone connected to Montana cell phone towers, resetting the clock to Mountain Time. When I dropped down into Avery, which doesn't have cell service, my clock never reset, leaving me in the Pacific time zone on a Mountain Time clock. So when I thought I was waking up at 5 a.m., it was actually 4 a.m. Sunrise in Avery is at 5:30 local time. This is important because the first trail is extremely narrow, steep, and includes a number of switchbacks. I didn't want to tackle this first thing in the morning, in the dark, and risk everything on day 6. I eventually, foolishly, made the decision to go ahead anyhow. It didn't take very long for me to regret not waiting for the sunrise. As we all know, the camera lies, especially in the super wide setting that I use. You can gauge the steepness in the pieces of ledge occasionally cropping out in the grass to the right, at handlebar level, not to mention the black void off to the left. This is Deadwood all over again. Take note of this landslide crossing over the trail on the right. We will see this again very soon. This is where my heart rate really starts to go up. I cannot see anything behind me on this switchback. It's just an empty void. I get around these switchbacks by rocking the bike with the throttle. I have a recluse clutch, so I just use the engine to catch the bike as it rolls backwards, not the brakes. What is terrifying though, is if the engine stalls, the clutch does nothing. I'll have no chance to use the brakes before I'm down over the edge. The magnitude of getting it perfect envelops you quickly in this situation. You can get a quick glimpse of the track on the GPS and how steep this hillside is. From the right, you will see the river, then the road, then the trail I'm on, all zigzagged very tightly. One nightmare I have with these side hills is the risk of catching a rock with a foot peg and having that deflection throw you off balance and down over the side. Listen closely for that ledge in the grass. In front of me is the upper section of that landslide. I measured it with some software. The trail below is to my right about 50 feet, but 100 feet down. Stopping to contemplate the situation will do me no good. I'm humble enough to say that in the 3,500 miles that I've now ridden in Idaho, on this bike, weighed down with gear like it is, that this is the most terrifying situation I've found myself in. It's the fear of the unknown. In daylight, this might be completely different, but in the dark, you are in this little bubble of light, trying to negotiate this very precise task with extremely limited visibility. One slip of my rear tire, and I could land in a plush pillow of huckleberry bushes, or I could free fall down into a top of a pine tree below. You just don't know. I've been through very steep, rocky switchbacks and other high-consequence side hill trails before, and even a 10,000-foot mountain ridgeline in the dark in a thunderstorm. But this very narrow, loose sand and gravelly trail with low visibility, less than a mile into the day, when you're not yet loosened up and still not really awake, somehow struck a nerve. Back in the winter of 2021, when I was planning my first trip out here to tackle the tour of Idaho, I was discussing with a good friend of mine the physical and mental challenges that I knew I would encounter in this kind of adventure. He is an ex-professional rock climber, and I was curious on how they deal with that stress and fear when they find themselves on some narrow ledge and it is seemingly impossible to go up, but is absolutely impossible to go down, and how you deal with those situations mentally in the moment. Ultimately, you need to commit and push forward. Overanalyzing only lets the fear overcome your ability to perform. Your mind and body knows how to achieve what's needed. Spending too much time rationalizing and questioning your abilities ultimately leaves you paralyzed in self-doubt. There's a patch on my tank bag that I received for completing a class back in high school that was modeled after the Outward Bound programs. I've had this patch with me all my life. It is in French and reads, "There is more in you," or "There is more in you than you think." This has served me well throughout life. Most importantly, in situations outside your comfort zone that adventures like this put you into. The goal of the class was to let you conquer things you never imagined you could. I believe adventure challenges, like this one, achieve the same thing.
Said the thief to the moon, "I'll extinguish your light soon. I'll put it into all the light that you shed on this world in its darkened state." Said the moon to the thief, "You know a lot of what you see. You're doomed the world to wander the night with
morning section starts out climbing steeply up out of Avery on the Nelson Ridge Trail. This gains 3,600 feet of elevation over 12 miles to the crest of Sheefoot Mountain. As you have seen, the bottom is steep and narrow, but the top is open and fast and fun. I'll then dive steeply back down into the valley and pick up the Moon Pass Road. This is one of the historic Moon Pass tunnels. My intentions were to take the Stevens Peak Trail just up the road and climb back up on the ridgeline. But honestly, my nerves were still a little shot after Nelson Ridge, and the lure of an incredible breakfast in Wallace got the best of me. After leaving Wallace, I'll climb back up to the ridge along the border of Montana and take in some beautiful views before diving down through the valley and checking out an old mining camp. I'll then climb back up for another 18 miles on the third section of the State Line Trail. Then it's 73 miles of forest roads, experiencing the gorgeous northern forests of Idaho.
Waved off by my dashboard light. Of sturdy kings in the zone. Been on front lines that bullets lay of this guard. Government sunset to give back a stolen life.
Day 6 is now complete. Today was a combination of most everything I think you'll find on Grit 1. From the most stressful 2 miles I've experienced to my most favorite trail of the whole trip, and everything in between. The third state line trail seemed to go on forever. My fear of hitting a rock or log hiding in the grass unfortunately came true. I didn't happen to have the camera on at the time, but I hit a 3-inch tree that fell into the trail and wasn't visible. It caught my foot peg and jousted the bike off the trail. Thankfully, it was not in an extremely steep section, and I landed in the grass and bushes. Bench pressing the bike from upside down, uphill is always a good time. Day 7 is tomorrow, but I have not quite prepared myself for this wonderful experience to end.